Live from Michigan City, Indiana, it's Long Arm TV Live with Jamie Wallen and his special guest from the studios of the Quilted Pineapple, Linda Hrcka.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Quilters Apothecary. Today is going to be a wonderful experience because we are going to take a virtual tour of Linda Hrcka's amazing studio and also have a wonderful interview with her. And we're going to have a question and answer section. But before we get there, let me make a few announcements. So next week, we are not going to be doing a live because Rich is going to be out of town. And then after that, we're going to be doing the following week, which is the 6th. We are going to be doing a draw for the 2 quilts. Now remember, anybody who has subscribed to our YouTube channel will be entered to win a small quilt, as well as anybody who's making purchases from, I believe it was last month till when, Mr. Ritchie? The 1st of June, correct? So then we're going to be doing those drawings for that small art quilt. There's going to be 2 of them, 1 for each. So now, without any further delay, let's see the amazing Linda Hrcka. Hey, sweetheart. You look wonderful. I love your shirt. Go Dolly.
Yes,
Yeah.
Go Dolly, my girl.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. You got to love Dolly. You can never go wrong with Dolly.
No, you can never go wrong with Dolly.
No.
So I'm so glad to do this and show my new studio and have you guys here joining me in Michigan. I have my husband Scott here filming.
Yay.
So,
Hey,
hello,
Scott.
everybody.
Scott's incredible. Scott is actually a superhero. A lot of people don't know that. He's in law enforcement, and he is someone who takes care of a lot of people. And if I am saying this correctly, he produces all of your product.
yes, all the rulers, templates, acrylic, my ideas. Scott helps to bring those to life. So it's awesome. It's like a little sweatshop for him here.
Isn't that awesome? And isn't it interesting working with your partner? That is like one of the things that it takes a little bit to get used to, but it's a process, isn't it?
It does. It's awesome and it can be challenging at the same time, of course.
Sure.
It's nice to have somebody like right here to help, but and help me go to classes and do my classes and do all the heavy lifting. But it's challenging too because if he asks why I want to do something, I'm like, because that's the right way.
That's right. That's right. Nope. I totally hear you. And I think a lot of us in quilting hear you. So of course any type of cottage industry when we work out of our home can be challenging that way. So there we go. All right. So let me start off with your daughters are back from college because of all the COVID stuff. Now you just went through some empty nest syndrome. And
Yes.
so now, so now they're back. Did you have to move a lot of quilting stuff out of their rooms?
That's exactly what I did. It was the hardest part. So our twin daughters went off to college. There are only 2. They're 19 now, but they went off to college, and so it was a really big adjustment for our family, for the pets especially. And when they left, I basically used Alina's room and Alyssa's, for that matter, for quilt storage. So when they made the announcement, we weren't really sure how long. I don't think any of us knew how long this was going to go on. So I had to move things out and readjust my shopping schedule. But it's been great having them back, although, it's hard because it was their freshman year of college and not getting to experience that. But, everyone's working through it.
That's awesome. That's totally awesome. Okay, you are back now. Okay, good. So you were frozen for a little bit. Sorry about that. Okay, well, good. Well, that's the whole part of live. This is the fun stuff.
Exactly.
Okay. So
we're all working from home remotely. We're all doing
totally
news. They're doing this, so
yeah. But we're building new skills too. Totally whole new skill level that we're dealing with, with the technology. We're getting to know our technology, which is
Exactly.
totally not fun. Not for me. So, okay, so let me ask this. So, you just moved from your basement studio, which I've been to multiple times, downstairs up to the upstairs and one of the reasons that I want to talk about a little bit is I've had a basement studio, and I know you did for a while, and the absence of light, and it affects our productivity. So, will you talk a little bit about that before you take us on
Yeah.
a studio tour?
So I sure will. So just a little feedback. My studio was downstairs. We got our first machine from you, the A1 in 2010, and so from there until last November, I was in the basement.
Sure.
No light, no natural light, no heat.
Yeah.
So I used to bundle up, but that didn't bother me initially. But the lack of light really affected me in many ways, like vitamin D levels, uh, red blood cell count, all sorts of things, like real issues with fatigue and muscle aches and things like that.
Yeah.
So we went through options on how to best accommodate like what I was going through, and we looked at even revamping the basement and putting in lights, and it just everything led to adding a space upstairs and letting natural light so that I could soak in that vitamin D
Right.
and boost productivity. So we went through the process. It started in 2018 about getting it down, getting a studio that would be really workable for us and our family and for my machines because it was going on a second level versus a basement cement floor. And my machines were in two different rooms as well, and getting a space, and getting those upstairs, making sure that I had a space that supported the weight of the machines, the vibration, all that. So
Right.
we had a contractor that worked really closely with me to assess my needs, and it's been wonderful since we have been able to move my space up here. I feel like a princess now.
Isn't it awesome? Yeah, but it's an issue, and a lot of people aren't aware of
It is.
that. You'll find people, especially if they're already prone to a little bit of ADHD, that have basement studios or attic studios, and I'm one of them, guilty here. But when you lock us in a basement with our machine, it's okay for a little bit, but boy, the absence of light for 8 hours to 12 hours a day, that really gets you, and it affects your productivity. And
It does. It
yeah,
affected my productivity, and when I work, especially when I was working, then I would work. I wouldn't know when to stop
right.
because of the absence of light.
Yep.
So I would work and work and work, and would forget to. Oh, I need to sleep for a couple hours.
Yep.
And it was like a casino, but I wasn't.
That's exactly it.
But yeah, there was no light, and it really affected sleep schedule, lots of things. I mean,
Right.
it was really hard. I went from not being cold, like the not having heat in the wintertime, to it really bothering me, really bundling up or
Right.
turning on my little heat furnace, my little heater that I had, a space heater. So it's strange because I moved into my new room and now I keep the heat low up here.
Oh, sure.
Used to it.
Sure.
Oh
So the family gets to complain. Yeah.
no, I don't notice it. They come in and they're like, "It's freezing in here," and I'm like, "It's perfectly
Yeah.
comfortable."
Yeah, you get the light. Awesome. So the next thing I want to touch on is will you take us on a studio tour and show us the
Yeah,
new digs?
I'd be happy to. A few people on my social media noticed the photos were looking kind of different, and I was like, "Yeah, I actually," and I hadn't really announced it. I'm kind of social media shy or camera shy. You guys
I
don't
know
really.
you are.
And so I was like, "Yeah, I actually have a new space," but I hadn't really shown it. So I'm more than happy to do it this way. It's awesome.
Yay.
So I want to welcome you guys into the Quilted Pineapple Studios, where the
Awesome.
magic happens, right? Isn't that what they say on TV?
Perfect.
So
Oh, wow.
moving here, I was fortunate. I was able to take this antique door and repurpose it. I had
Wow.
this company out of Shipshewana, Indiana, work with me, and they applied my logo on here, and it's a swinging door because my hands are always full. And so this is just a dummy
Oh,
knob.
genius.
It's antique hardware, so I'll open this up. I haven't really moved everything in here yet. It's still a process. The room was kind of still not done when we got home from Houston in November, so I'm still moving stuff from upstairs. But I have lots of space to store things. My batting is all here. I like to personally, I don't like my batting out in my space or underneath my machine, and so I just carry the rolls out there, measure what I need, and then just prop it up and bring it back in.
Perfect.
So that's what's nice about a swinging door is I can hold my roll and carry
And
it
there's
in.
still room in there for stuffing things.
There's so much room for stuffing things, but I still have a lot of stuffing things downstairs. So moving over here is where I piece, or if I have to add binding or do all that good stuff here.
Beautiful.
And then I have an antique quilt, one of my collections, hanging up there. And moving into my space, let's see. I can look out and see outside on my patio now, and
Wow.
I can see my neighbors. I can hear the birds. Here is where I can press.
Oh my goodness, hold on. I got to stop you.
Yes.
So, Scout, will you go back? Did I just see a Christmas tree?
Yes, you did.
That is awesome.
Full disclosure, I had a Christmas tree. Last year, it was like the only thing that I had in my space before I moved everything in after we got back from Houston, and someone forgot to take it down. So I left it and made it a holiday tree. So it's had hearts for Valentine's Day, and then it had some Easter eggs, and now it has some stars on it. So it'll probably be red, white, and blue stars until fall.
Oh, I could totally see like working at night and just having that tree on. That would be so relaxing and enjoyable.
I do. I love it. I actually love it. I get a lot of people catch it, like clients or customers when I take a picture of their quilt,
Sure.
and then they're like, "Is there a Christmas tree?"
That's awesome. I love it.
So over here's where I house all my threads. So this is actually an antique wardrobe that came from my
Yum.
dad. And then I store all my threads, some quote books and things like that. So they don't get exposed to the light.
Very cool.
I just keep those in there.
Smart.
One of my machines, my Nova, is over here. This is my computerized machine that I do edge-to-edge quilting.
Perfect.
Is over here. The TV is up high because my light bar
Right.
is there. And moving over here, I have my A1, and I do 99% of my free motion quilting on my A1. No computer. That's all freehand. It's not the upgraded version. It's the good old-fashioned.
The original. I loved the original. It was my favorite.
Yep, I love it. If it's not broke, don't fix it.
That's right.
For me, so I still have kept it the way it is, and that's where it is. And then I have another pie safe over here that houses a bunch of antique quilts.
Oh, fantastic. Well, you're big into the antique quilts. I mean, you
Yep.
collect them as well as the quilt tops.
I feel like I give them a home, that they're orphaned.
Right. We were talking about that. I mean, you were pretty emotional about that. That's it's like someone bringing home puppies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Except I asked my kids, I'm like, what are you going to do with all the quilts? And they were like, we're going to sell them.
Right.
And I was like,
Oh my God.
well, I'm going to sell them before you get them.
That's right. That's right.
They told me to make sure that I write my name on the ones that I've done. They're keeping those, but the antique quilts are going to go on to another family.
Very cool. Well, that's cool though. Hey,
Yeah.
that's wonderful. And I'm assuming most of them will have your incredible quilting.
I hope.
So-
I hope to. I hope to give them some nice quilting.
Do you have time to do your own work?
More than I used to.
Okay.
So I wasn't. That's one of the pitfalls of having a studio in your home.
Yep.
I always feel like in my free time, I say that loosely, free time, that I'm working. So, and I still do it, even with it up here, because I can see it from my living room, but I've tried to make time to work for my own things because life is short,
It
and
is.
I'm probably, not coming back.
Well, that's a class I need to take from you, is how to actually do your own stuff again. So, yeah.
Yeah, so I've been making an effort in how I schedule uh, things to work on my own stuff.
Okay. Well, okay. So, and again, I know that you are a humble young lady, which is one of the reasons why I love you so much. So I know you're not going to do it. So I need to ask, let's talk products. I know you have some amazing rulers that I actually use as well.
I,
When I don't feel
and I
like playing with my handles, and you have some wonderful stuff. Would you give us a little tour of some of your products?
Sure. So over here, because I'm actually working on something of my own right now. So I pull out all my rulers. So I have several here. These are my big curves, what I call big curves, because they're great for those large blocks, big borders, and the antique quilt that I'm currently working on has 15-inch blocks
Sure.
set on point. So from point to point, they're like 19, 20 inches. You need a larger tools for that. So I have my curves. What's nice about the curves is it's the same curve on the inside as the outside.
Nice.
So I can flip them easily.
Yep.
So I don't have to awkwardly hold them when I'm working with them. I have a set of straight edge rulers here, and they have the 45 that goes from end to end both ways, which is super nice for cross hatching, large borders, measuring, and there's a 1/4 inch mark, which
Yep.
is really nice for odd sizes.
Oh, that's awesome. And the crosshatch, that's not going anywhere. That is hot and it's here to stay. And I got to tell you, I love the color. You can find it.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
I love that little
Yep.
bit of a light blue tint. That's amazing.
So, and then my original babies that I use on 99% of my things, and they're all marked up right now, but that's okay. These are the original 6 curves. I use them on, like I said, about 95% of the items that I work on, quilts, projects. I'm using these as my go-to.
I love the little guy. What's the little guy?
The BFF, my BFF.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So BFF, there's probably around 20 of them laying around the house.
Sure. Oh, yeah. I know that. Yeah.
Because I'm putting them in my pocket, walking out of the studio. Then we have a couple of other things that I'm just putting on my website that I had for teaching. And I just, had to reschedule some teaching events and things like that.
Yep.
So I was kind of offering it to students first. But my original 6, I also make in an 1/8 inch, which I call the draw because I draw with them. So
Yes.
these are drawing rulers that I take, and not that anyone's really leaving their house right now, at least
Right.
we aren't, but in my car, when I go now, I just recently took them because I had to have some tests done, and I had to wait in the car before you go in kind of a thing. And so I have them in my car, and I don't have to take my big 1/4 inch
Perfect.
templates and rulers with me, and they're not as heavy. Or if, unlike me, I have a space that I can draw right here. But prior to that, I was drawing in my living room or on my kitchen counter, and I would take my rulers from my studio, my templates, and I would take them upstairs. And then when I needed to use them, they were upstairs. And so this just makes it super simple to be able to draw.
Well, and they're so heavy. They're heavy.
Yeah.
To take the actual quilting rulers, and when you travel or when you go hang out at people's houses, I love taking the drawing rulers because it's just so nice. It's just you
Yeah.
can take them everywhere because we should be designing. And I
It's a
think
game
everybody
changer.
that produces tools really should have a drawing set as well with the thinner template plastic. Yeah,
I totally agree. I
genius,
totally
beautiful.
agree. I totally agree. These are new. These are drawing circles. And these are little 1/4 inch circles. And these are specifically formulated so that, or they're designed so that if I needed, these go 1/4 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch. So there's 3/4 of an inch. Here, can you see that, Scott?
I sure can.
So I can just stick, so this would be the equivalent of like my hopping foot. I can draw my designs exactly how I quilt them, or if I need an inch, because I only go to 3/4, if I need an inch to draw it, I can easily, oops, there we go. Sorry, my marker is
Always
dry.
when the camera's running. That's just
I know, my
always.
marker.
You can always count on
There we
that.
go. my little marker was dried out.
Oh, that's awesome.
Dried out.
I
Excuse
love
me.
that. Love it, love it.
Yeah, so that I can easily. So I did that. We'll get to the drawings like when I show you my quilt that I'm working on. However, for here, when I wanted to draw this out, I wanted an inch because that's what I'm going to quilt.
Right.
So I laid my big curve on my draw line here, and then I was able to get that inch spacing
Perfect.
with my little drawing circle. And those, I apologize, are not on my website. I was just putting those up. I had those at Houston, and then I kind of, with everything going on, it just got a little crazy. I forgot to put them
Life
on my
happens.
website.
Yeah.
So, yeah, those are. Oh, and I have a DVD, but you guys know that.
Yep, sure did. That was a wonderful, 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 fun few days filming. And
Yeah.
you did amazing. That's incredible. I mean, I have to say, even though we filmed it, I still watch mine. I mean, I love it. You know, I love your work. Your work is
Amy, you're so.
exquisite. If I did show quilts, because you've, and I know again, you're not going to say it, but you know, you win ribbons and you do incredible, and your stuff is so perfect. I'm not that guy. I love your work. And refrigerator coil, I love your refrigerator coil. I mean, that's I
My
love it,
favorite
love it, love it,
filler.
love it.
You're very kind, and although I've been very fortunate to win at some shows, you know that I always say I'm a working girl.
Yeah, yeah,
I feel very lucky, and I feel awesome that my work looks show worthy. But really, I'm just always working for a client. You know, working to
oh yeah,
uh,
make their
support
quilt
my
beautiful.
family.
Yeah.
So I'm very lucky that way. I wouldn't. I don't know if I'd say I was a show.
So, what was the question? Can we turn the phone? Try turning the phone, Scott. What do you mean, sideways? But then she's going to be sideways. Doesn't work. No, it doesn't flip.
Okay.
Nope, we're good.
Is it?
Nope, they're just used to the narrow thing, but that's part of the live thing when we're using a
Oh, I
phone because we're
gotcha.
not using an iPad. But the phone, nope, that'll work.
I know, and I will get my iPad. It was so funny. I have the very first iPad that they came out with in 2010.
I still do
I think,
too.
yeah, the
Yep,
first generation. They didn't even know how long they were going to last or
yep.
whatever. It still works, but I can't do any of the new things. I mean, it works for me still. So we looked at actually getting one for this, which we are going to get one to do more videos and things. But everyone's bought the iPad, so
Yeah,
you have
you
to order
can't.
them.
You
And
can't.
so we're going to get here till Wednesday.
So also, while we're on this, I do want to say this. You know, you and I have talked, and you are doing a YouTube channel coming up. Is that
Yes,
correct?
yes,
Okay, so
we're
you're going to have
open YouTube.
tutorials, and you're going to
Yep,
have
gonna have
live
tutorials.
broadcasts.
I have like these great technologically advanced 19-year-olds, right? That can help and Scott here. So I was like, you guys can help me do this video thing.
That's right. And we need it. We need some Linda Hrcka videos and tutorials. You know, that's the way to be. There are people that aren't going to be leaving. Rich and I were talking about it today. We're thinking about, I know people are going to travel, but for we're looking at about a yearish of people really wanting to not stay home. Obviously, we're still going to have classes and people are going to be traveling, but you're going to have a lot of people that are going to be doing a lot more from their house. And so YouTube and those sorts of things, and so putting yourself in a position in which you can offer internet and live classes and video tutorials. That's the name of the gang, you know.
It's smart. And just like, I mean, you guys have this amazing studio space where you can have students come in. I was hoping because was doing some private with one-on-one with students, but it wasn't, it wasn't ideal in my basement,
Sure,
obviously.
sure.
We would make it work kind of a thing. But I was really hoping to bring students in
Right.
here because I had a nice space they could come in through here. But with this current situation,
Yeah.
it's not really ideal yet. But I'm hoping
It'll
to get there.
happen.
I can have students come in and work with me one-on-one as well. But yeah, doing videos and being able to present to students all over,
Yep.
that can't get to us or get to a class, that it's the way to go.
Yep. And I hear from so many people how incredible of a teacher you are. So yeah, that makes me happy. And one of the things that I love that I hear all the time is your genuineness. So, and we need, yeah, I mean, there are a lot of wonderful, genuine teachers out there, but you have a genuine desire. And I think that's the key to a good teacher is you want your students to be better than you are. And I
I
know that
do.
about you. We
I
talk
want my
about that a lot.
I want my students, I want them to take the designs that or inspiration that they get from me
Yeah.
and make it better.
Yeah.
I was like, that is my goal is for your work to look better than mine
Yeah.
and to encourage them to put it in a show. I don't think about it, but when I do, and I want them to do the
Yeah.
same.
It's so good for,
You
yeah.
have to be a show quilter to do it.
So
So
let's see this antique quilt
yeah.
that you're working on.
And I just want to show that I had some visitors that came in.
Oh,
So this is real life shooting at home.
oh,
Left the door open and some
how
helpers.
sweet. Oh yeah, and normally they're not allowed in. That's right. So this
No.
is kind of a treat for
So
them.
yeah. So let's go over here to where the quilt that I'm working on. So like I said, this is new to me, working on custom quilting something that isn't a sample or something that I'm going to take. I will probably take this if I go and teach. But one of the things that's always really important to me, and I've said it to you, Jamie, is when I show students designs and things, I always
Hold on just a second. You pause. There we go. Is she back now?
Oh,
Yep,
am
you're
I
back now. Yep, perfect.
Phone call.
Oh, sorry. I was trying to turn off phone calls, but I think I
That's
didn't
all
get
right.
that. Anyways, I like to show students when I do designs or anything how to use my templates and rulers. I want to show them actually on a quilt so they can get some idea of how they could use that on a quilt that they're working on. It wouldn't necessarily have to be this quilt, but I'm hoping to inspire them to take the designs and actually use them on a quilt because
Perfect.
it's easy to quilt something out on a blank piece of
Yep.
fabric.
Yep.
Sometimes it's harder when you have issues. So this is a great quilt to show. So this is an antique quilt. I don't want to date it because I am not very good at that. I'm saying that this is probably 1900 to 1920s
Wow,
base.
that's gorgeous.
So it's a Carolina lily. One of the things I want to show is it just has a plain, wide backing, and then I actually have 2 layers of batting. I have Quilter's Dream 70/30, which is my absolute favorite base layering. When I layer batting, I like to use this as a base because I can pull and stretch on this. I don't know if you can see this, but it really doesn't morph. It doesn't lose its shape. So that's why, because I'll pull and tug on this and it won't lose its shape. And that's why I love to use it as a base. I would never use this by itself. It's kind of thin.
Right.
Over that, I actually have 100% cotton batting.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then I have a sheet of muslin, and this was a trick that I learned from you because this is very sheer. It's really thinned out. There's no wear spots necessarily, but just it's aged,
Right.
And I was worried about the wear and tear of quilting on it. So just to kind of stabilize it, I've added a piece of wide muslin. So I actually have 3 layers that I'm stretching and moving.
Beautiful.
And then I did press this quilt with an iron. I wanted to make sure that it could kind of take some heat and take some things to see. That was going to tell me, and I sprayed it with water to see if I would get any more spots on it, maybe water stains.
Right.
To see how it was going to hold up. And I didn't have any problems, actually. And there is some fullness. You can see I've already taken 1 block because there was so much fullness in it and sprayed it with starch.
Sure.
So it actually shrunk up quite a bit. I didn't have any run of color. You know me, I like to torture my quilts. So I sprayed it with starch. I've actually marked it.
Looks amazing.
My favorite, my purple marker. So here you can see I have some setting triangles.
Wow.
And I have blocks. So I also have setting blocks that are about the same size as these Carolina lilies.
Wow,
and
that's beautiful.
I've drawn on here a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to lay my templates on here and just see how they fit, how the best size. I'm probably, because as you can see, this is the 15 curve that I have right here. And it's a little bit small for this space. So I'm probably going to grab my big curve.
Cool. So, okay, can I ask a question? So
Sure.
you use the air erase, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay,
It
and
has both.
you've had no
So,
issues with that pen whatsoever.
no, I've
Okay.
never had issues. I have had issues with it's purple on one end and it's blue on the other. The blue is the one that's water soluble.
Yes.
And I use that if I don't want something to disappear.
Got it.
Uh, especially today, it's kind of humid, so this purple marker isn't going to last as long. I mean, I would never mark my whole quilt and then load it; it would be gone.
Right, right.
So it's something. It's long enough just for me to get my marks on there, and I've never had a problem with it. Now, with that being said, I used one not that long ago that was a laundry marker. It was a little bit different. I don't even know where I got it from, but I used it.
Right.
I just pulled it out, used it. That one, for some reason, did not want to come out as well. So this is a Dritz, and I never have a problem with it.
So the Dritz with the double side. Let me ask another question. I've got another question for you.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, the bottom batting, that was Dream 7030, is that correct? Poly cotton?
Yep, Quilters Dream 7030. So it's a poly cotton. It is my absolute favorite as a base layer. So I've put anything, and to be honest with you, I put cotton on here because I have a bunch of it. I put wool over the top. I've put 80/20. That's a poly cotton blend over this, but this is always my base. Always.
Lovely. Yeah. Yeah, the Dream is incredible batting. Dream is incredible. A lot of our people from our area won't pay for it, otherwise I'd carry it. But there you go. So let me ask this. So when you finish the quilt using the purple, because I poo-pooed the purple for so long, and you know that. So I want to clarify because I can be wrong, obviously. So when you
No.
finish with the quilt, do you do anything special with the purple air erase?
So a lot of times it's gone by the time I pull it off.
Okay.
For the most part. So I might spritz it with water.
Okay.
Like a little bit. I always keep a spray bottle, and this is just water. I don't put baking soda or anything like that in it.
Right.
It's just good old fashioned water. And I lightly spritz it, and I kind of tap just to kind of loosen it up, the fibers. I won't soak it. The reason I don't like to soak this, unless I was going to block a quilt and like soak it in a tub kind of a thing and
Right.
really get the batting wet as well, is anything just like with the blue can do this too. It'll seep through the fibers and then go underneath and then want to pop back up like that pen. So I just lightly spritz it.
Okay.
Now that quilt, dare I say it, that the quilt that I had I was having issues with this purple laundry marker that was I thought was the same thing, which clearly it wasn't. I had to actually use a little bit, a mixture of peroxide and alcohol.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Alcohol helps to evaporate it quicker off
Sure.
of it, and that worked. So it was on a light quilt, so peroxide didn't do anything to it, but it was a mixture, and that's how I got it out.
Okay.
So that's
great to know.
You know,
Always good to test, but yeah,
yes.
there you go.
Problems always lead to innovation.
Yes, they do.
I don't know what the saying is, but yeah.
Yeah, I always learn a lot more from my failures than my successes.
That's exactly right.
Yep.
So with this quilt, I do want to add too, is I will be using So Fine by So Fine number 50 weights on the top.
You like the thinner threads.
Yes, because I quilt pretty heavily, and I can not get a lot of thread buildup with that.
Got it.
And I tend to travel in the ditch. So by that I mean I'm gonna, like here, if I need, I'm gonna quilt this, and if I need to come over here to fill this area in, I'm gonna travel in my ditch, and I can travel many times, and the thread buildup is pretty minimal.
Got it. Okay.
So in the bobbin, I like the Magnaglide magnetic bobbins, and I'll take you guys if you want. In here is where I keep all my bobbins.
Oh my gosh, look how organized. That's amazing.
Yeah, in the other drawer over here is where I keep my partially used ones in baggies.
Wonderful.
So I use these in,
Wow.
they have the magnet.
Yep.
On the
So
other,
do you
yeah.
take your for you, because a lot of people are yes and no about this. Do you take your spring out of your bobbin case for that?
Okay, so let me check because I don't think that I do. So I'm a rebel. I never listen to any rules. So let's see, is it in there? It's in there.
Okay, got it. So some people do, some people don't, and you don't have
Yeah.
any issue. Well, obviously you don't have any issues.
I don't have issues, but on my Innova I take it out because I use it there too. I
Okay.
use it. I have the red bobbins.
Yeah.
Yeah, red bobbins. Uh, I take it out because I've tried it both ways, and I actually the thread will get caught on it in there, and I'll have some tension issues.
Okay.
Kind of.
Got it.
And the reason these are so much faster for me, and I tend to always have perfect tension. That's really important to me,
Yeah.
and I just think that these work. Just they're a lifesaver for me, like as far as time goes.
Once you
So
get tension, it's done. You'll rarely have bad tension unless someone's messing with your machine and didn't tell you.
right,
Yeah.
I run everything, all the threads on top with it, and I never have any issues. The only drawback is the colors are limited. I have every color that they have. In
Sure.
those two colors, that's it.
Yep.
So like the green is like a Kelly green, forest green.
Right.
So if you have a green, I might put gray because I try to match bobbin and top threads as close as I can. So that's the only issue with those.
So let me ask a few questions. So how long, and I know your custom is like big, big high end. So a custom quilt, how long?
So typically minimum is 40 hours
Yeah.
on it. Um, it might run longer than that. It might run a little bit shorter than that. So, I account in my head for at least minimum 40 hours.
Yep. Okay. Okay.
Most I've ever spent on a quilt is 100 hours.
Wow.
That's only been once, and it's here. And there were reasons for that. But typically, I try to get things between 40 and 60 hours, I would
Okay.
say.
So customer wise, when you charge, okay, so now we're talking about the personal stuff, business stuff. So are you square inch or per hour?
No. So the only thing that's square inch for me is my edge to edge work is per square inch because my custom, I mean, if you think about it, if you have I don't know, I don't even want to say a quilt, a 60 by 60, a lap quilt.
Right.
So that's like 1,200 square feet or square inches. And if you charged, I don't know, how much would you have to charge before you didn't make $6 an hour?
Right.
So I charge by the hour. I might figure it up square inch for my customer, but I try to make sure that I am making from my home a minimum of $30 an hour.
Yep. And that's what I learned from you. You know, I
Mhm.
had to learn that lesson. I remember you always used to joke with me about I was like your grandpa who would give you $2 and say, go grocery shopping for me. I remember. So you taught me.
And I had that
Yeah.
conversation, and it was really hard for me to come to that. I really, until I started figuring out how much time I was really spending on quilts. Now, do I think about loading my quilt? No, because I'm putzing around usually,
Right.
and I'm watching TV or I'm listening to an audiobook that you've recommended for me.
Right.
So I don't count that time. I don't count the time that I'm designing either because I figured that that's going to help me for a future quilt. It's kind of like my investment
Right.
time, and I don't count that. I literally count when I'm working on the quilt.
Cool.
So I'm very generous with that, I would say.
Yeah, I would agree. And you're
But
getting paid what you're worth. You're a tradeswoman, and that's
yeah,
important. And to get past this whole idea of women's work, that malarkey crap that people throw around, that's important. I mean, this is how we make a living. We invest in classes, we invest in machinery, we invest in the skills. I mean, it took you, I'm sure it took you a good year to start developing those skills that
oh,
you could have the self-confidence to charge.
I'm
So,
still, yeah, I'm still learning.
yep.
I feel like every new quilt's new for my first day on the job. So, because it's different. And, like I said, a minimum of 30. I mean, sometimes it's more, it's more than that.
Yeah.
But I try to give my best work in the least, and be time effective.
Yeah.
Because somebody doesn't want to pay me for working 100 hours on a quilt. I mean,
Right.
they're going to pay me $3,000 to custom quilt. I don't think so.
Yeah,
So,
I find you to be a genius at it. I mean, I've seen.
so I try to work, most of my designs, I try to make like one start and stop because that takes time. I don't hand bury threads. I tend to backtrack. I have before, but I'm very upfront with my client. I am very upfront with my clients. I mean, I've had to learn to be that way. It wasn't. I felt like I would bite off more than I could chew.
Sure. So about how many custom quilts do you allow yourself to do per month?
So that varies. Now we're moving into the summer months, and I don't do as much in the summer because for lots of reasons.
Right.
I do a lot of edge to edge quilts and things like that. So I limit because I'm doing other things. I'm still working on custom, but I just won't bring in as many. So my custom quilting, usually it's anywhere from, it depends on the time. It's, 12 to 24 quilts probably a year custom quilted.
Wow. Okay. Wow. That's nice. That's a nice pace. Plus you're doing the edge to edge. And do we have any new tools down the road? Do you have some rolling around in your head?
Yes, we do. But Scott's been so busy, but now he's spent a little more time with me. So, yes, we do. I just have to get him to work with me a little bit and have him draw them out, draw them out. But I do have some new tools coming. So
get him off the boat for fishing.
Yeah.
Take one of his fishing
Watch your mouth. Watch your mouth.
So could you take us over to your drawing and show us some of the ideas that you're going to use on this quilt?
Yep. I'll go around this way.
Wow. Love it.
So a couple of things. So like I said, my block was 14 inches. And, my setting triangle. So I'm running just some ideas right now because you can't see it on that quilt, but that quilt does have some issues because some of the blocks don't come perfectly to point. At one point, I think they're an inch off, like the block to, so there's some issues, like some of my designs, I'm going to have to fudge a little bit.
Right.
And this is like a point to point. So I've used my 30 big curve out here, and actually my 10 is this little one. So I mix small and large. So this is, I like to add some quilted space versus negative space kind of a thing, like quilted space, negative space. So here you can see with the purple, one of the things that I do on all my blocks is I will find my halfway kind of points, just some registration lines, just to give me a little bit of a roadmap that I can play off of. That way I can always line my center line on my templates, like right with, just gives me a little bit of a roadmap like that.
Oh,
so
wonderful.
here, I'm not sure if I'm going to add some filler in between my blocks and things, and that's what that purple line, just to keep my feathers like uniform, and then maybe I'll do some stipple, micro stipple or something. But I did that with my little ruler here with my wheel, my circle.
Cool.
I lined up. There we go. And so I'm going to leave that space open, or maybe I'll fill the entire space with feathers. I'm not sure.
Love the curved crosshatch.
Right. And here when I drew this out, like I was like, oh, if I leave this open and I have an open space here, I might not like that. That might play off. So this might be one where I would have to fill in this melon shape and leave this open. There's my refrigerator coil, or because I like to bounce it off, have here, although I might have this space open, these are only 1/4 of an inch, so it's going to be tighter and it's going to make this area pop.
Nice.
So with the setting triangle here, I didn't fill in because I was like, I don't know if I would do feathers here or maybe I would do pebbles. So I kind of ran some ideas. on paper, and then I'll go and I'll actually draw them out on my space in my block on my quilt directly, and I'll see how it looks, kind of a thing, and then I might quilt it out because I'm gonna try not to pick out of this quilt. I don't know how it's gonna like if I have to pull stitches out.
Right.
I might do a little test area and pick
Sure.
them out and see if it damages the quilt at all. But I'm gonna try not to pick out of it. So I'll draw that out with my purple marker, and then I'll go back and I will quilt it. Now after that, I'm not gonna draw out every single block that I want to. I'm going to just do registration lines so it goes a little bit quicker.
Cool.
For myself, even though it's my quilt, I don't want it on there. I'll have something coming. I don't want it on there for forever.
Cool. Cool. Yeah.
So,
Wonderful.
yeah, that's my drawing. And I might draw some. The other thing, and I don't have it. I have it in my closet. Is my whiteboard.
Yep.
I draw a lot on my whiteboard. But this is something that I'll actually tear this off, these sheets off, and I'll take over to my machine.
Awesome. Cool. So, okay. So, TV, music, or audiobooks?
So, everything. So, if I watch TV, it's always something that I've watched a million times because I'm basically listening, like to a movie.
Yep.
Unless
It's always the movie Elf.
That's a good movie.
Not so like this fall. Although I almost watched it. What did I put on instead? I don't even remember.
I don't know.
When Harry Met Sally, maybe. I don't remember what it was. But so if I'm on my A1, I just started listening to audiobooks because you turned me on to them, and I'm addicted.
I know.
So
Great.
what I do with those is I wear my big headphones, not my earbuds. I wear my big Sony headphones, and I turn it on so I can hear the sound, ambient sound around me. And I actually still slide one off a little bit.
You have a friend here.
Yeah.
Aww.
I haven't seen them all day, and since we've been in here,
Sure.
So I'll slide it off because I want to be able to hear my machines. That's the big thing. So when I'm on my Innova, I never listen to an audiobook because I like to hear that machine. Although people think that you just turn it on and you walk away, at least I can't do that. I want to hear if anything, might happen.
Yep.
So I like to hear both machines running. Because you can hear so much. I can hear something with the bobbin. I can hear if I run out of thread, if I wasn't thinking and I didn't change out my bobbin, or I can hear if there's lint caught, and I can't do that if I totally am, closed off to what I am hearing,
Awesome.
on the outside. So,
Okay, so we've got a few questions.
okay.
So let me see. No, Mr. Ritchie, read me one and I'll call it out because I can't see the screen. Yeah, that was a question I had too. That's a great question. So do you give the client an estimate on price if it's per hour? Do you give them how do you know an estimate to give them? How does that work?
Okay, so my client list is pretty small now. I know pretty much who I'm custom quilting for. There was a time when I started, okay, so that things were, I charged by the square inch, it wasn't making enough. So I still had an open client list where anyone, I was taking quilts from all over the place.
Right.
And so at that time, of course, I wasn't charging what I charged. When I started, I charged $16 an hour, charging by the hour.
Right.
And that was only because, that's a long story, but someone else, anyways, I came to $16 an hour. So when I started, and I would just count on 40 hours. So even now, I tell somebody 40 hours. If it takes me 20 hours, I'm a hero because it came out so much less.
Right.
Chances are very good that it's not going to be, I'm going to know if someone's like, look, that I want to enter this in a show. It might not be a national show. It might be a big show for them. Okay.
Sure.
It might be a regional show or whatever. I know that going into it, that this isn't a quilt that's going to go on the floor with the dog. So I'm going to give them, I'll say by looking at it, I can tell now. At the beginning, I couldn't tell. And I would say, I would give them a price in my head, and I would base it on 40 hours.
Mhm.
If it was less, if I can look at it and I'll be like, yeah, I definitely can get that in 20 hours, then I would give them that price. But I understand at the beginning you wouldn't be able to do that. Now looking back, I can look at applique, what I'm going to be, how much ditch work am I going to have, and I know a roundabout right at the beginning, like where I'm going to be at.
That makes total sense because after the 50th quilt, yeah, you get good at looking at it and saying, okay, this is going to take this long, and yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Okay, next question, Mr. Ritchie. No. So are the rulers you use to draw with the same ones you use to quilt with? So
They
the
use,
drawing ones are thinner, is that correct?
right. The drawing ones are thinner. They're an eighth, and the big rulers are 1/4 inch. So they didn't used to be. I used to use the same rulers, but you can see on these drawing ones how much marker there is on them.
Yep.
Because I've been drawing with them. So my big curves, I don't have those yet in a drawing size. I'm going to make those in a drawing size as well, but I use 2 different ones. But with the big ones, I don't really travel anywhere with these because look at, I mean,
Right.
they're, let's see, this one is like 21 inches. So that would be really hard for me to take in the car to the doctor's appointment. I mean, I would if I really, really had to and I needed to utilize my time, those
Right.
times, like, okay, but for the most part, now on my machine, I only keep the 1/4 inch there because I don't want by any chance, like, grab this 1/8 one and hop on it, like, hit it with my needle.
And you do offer your thin drawing rulers for sale on your website.
Yes, but they are not on there yet. They'll be on there in the next hour. Like after we get off our little live here, they will be on there. I
Awesome.
just have information that I needed to load.
Okay. Next
on there.
question. Okay, so since you don't bury threads, how do you do your starts and stops to prevent any ugly thread buildup? And I've seen your stuff, you can't even tell. They're amazing.
Right. Okay, so if I can just take you guys over here real quick, and I'll bring the machine down here. Hopefully we can do this. So.
Speak up.
Okay. Let's see, was my machine already on? I just want to make sure it was on. I'm coming down there. Okay, so I'll show you how I start and stop, just to make it easier for everyone, how I pull up my threads. So I'm almost out of thread on this comb, so hopefully it'll. There's nothing better for me than using up an entire cone of thread.
I know it, I agree.
So let's see, because it's like literally dwindling off. So I'm gonna grab my little thread tail here. I'm gonna pull up, and I'm going to take this, go underneath my hopping foot, and pull my thread just like that. And I didn't move my machine.
Oh, nice.
And then I go down, so I'm down just like that.
Got it.
And then here. And then I am going to go forward, go back.
Oh, look at that. You can't even tell.
No.
Yeah,
I showed her how to do this one.
Now, I always tell students and everyone else, I've probably done this 100,000 times,
Yep.
and I'm not even joking.
Yep. And that was some mighty fine camera work, Scott. Thank you. We could see everything.
So the key is, though, now when I stop, I'm going to do the same thing. Is I'm going to go like that. I'm going to pull up. I'm going to pull this away, and I'm going to come down. So my stops, I work on because you just did it, your brain just stitched that out. It's easier for me to get my stops right exactly in the same spot. But typically your starts, because you're coming in cold, usually typically, just like I did then, I haven't stitched since last night. It's easier if I don't move my hopping foot. When I pull up my thread like that and I go underneath my hopping foot and grab that bobbin thread.
Right.
Like I did. And I can do that again if you guys.
No, that was awesome. Thank you. Another
Okay.
question?
What do you tell clients about not burying threads? If they insist, do you just refuse the job or charge extra?
Okay, so the question is for anybody that didn't hear that. So if a client insists you bury threads, do you do it? Or do
Okay.
you just kind of send them on their merry way? Because I don't do it. I don't bury.
So typically I don't do it, and I'm very upfront with people about that. But I've had only 2 quilts that were show quilts for my client. And this is no one knows this person, so I don't even think it's somebody that you regularly see me go for. So this is a client that I have, and she shows her quilts. She does. I don't show them. And there was some contrasting threads, and you might see based on the backing being like ivory and this thread was green,
Right.
kind of a thing. And so she asked me, she's like, would you bury threads? Same situation. And I did. And I told her, I was going to charge for that. So I of course got faster because it was like on leaves, and there were a bunch of leaves on this quilt. So I got faster at doing it, but it did add time. I mean, I'm keeping track of my time, so I'm going to tell her it's going to factor into it. So make sure that you charge accordingly for that. We are going to charge extra.
Yeah.
And very upfront about it. Otherwise, you could do a thing where you could leave the tails. I don't like to do that. I would never leave the tails.
I've done that, but that's a pain because
it's a pain to work around it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that I tried that. I thought I was going to do it, and then I didn't. I was like, no, it's not going to work. I was our tails are all over the place, and I can't work like that.
Yep.
So I am very upfront that
it's in the price. How much do you want to pay?
Yep.
Yep. And the harder it is and that you don't want to do, the more you charge. It's like binding for me. It's like,
exactly the pain.
Yeah, I'll do it, but yeah. Okay, Mr. Ritchie, another question. What is your favorite length ruler for stitching the ditch quilting?
So typically, for stitch in the ditch, I'm using one of 2 sizes. I'm either using a 5-inch ruler or I'm using this 8-inch because I don't want anything too big for ditch work. Because if you get further, this, and I love the size. The 16-inch is great for crosshatch, especially like in big borders. But for ditch work, I don't want to get too.
I agree.
Far away from myself.
Weeble
I use
wobble.
these long rulers, and they are indispensable because I couldn't do like these large blocks without my 20-inch ruler.
Sure.
But I just recently completed a quilt that had a little bit more modern, no feathers, which is unlike me, but it just didn't fit. It's on my Facebook and Instagram, Outlander Star, and there's no feathers on it. And I used these long rulers because there were some big designs, some big stitched lines.
Right.
And that, I am better off having a longer ruler with that and kind of traveling. That way, if it was short, it's, you have places for it to look kind of jagged. So if I have a smoother, I just have to be a little bit more careful as I'm stitching.
So in the long runs, do you use any adhesive on the back of your ruler or no?
So I don't because, especially on something like a flannel or wool, which I do a significant amount based on quilting for Lisa Bonjean, Primitive Gatherings.
Right.
He has a ton. The quilt that I was talking about, last few quilts that I've just done for her are flannel and wool, and they're beautiful. Right. But if I had adhesive on it, you know how I would stick to it? I couldn't move mine. And I like a little glide on mine. I can understand why someone would want it stuck to it. I just have learned to deal with it. And if you come over here, Scott, I tend to anchor my pinky or my ring finger always on my templates or rulers. It's just the way I quilt.
Yep. You've built a muscle memory.
Yeah. And my hands are pretty small. I mean, they're like Kermit hands here. So I don't have large hands. So, for me, I learned to utilize like my thumb as an anchor, just like almost like a speed bump, just to kind of keep them in place. And if you're somebody, if you need a handle, your rulers are awesome. For somebody that wants something to hang on to. If if I'm feeling like my hands are getting, a little arthritic, getting a little pain, what I do is I turn them over like this.
Sure.
When I do that. So if I can't keep them straight, I just kind of turn them over like that.
Yep. I agree. You have to find what works for you.
Right. You
Absolutely.
have to find what works, and that's, so if I go this way, I'm using my thumb to anchor. If I go this way, I'm using my ring finger or my pinky.
Perfect.
So
Okay. Another question? When you stitch in the ditch, do you use monofilament? And do you ever have any issues with skip stitches when you use it?
okay, so hang on here. I'm gonna grab the monofilament that I use. So I don't ever have problems with skip stitches. One thing when you're using monofilament thread is you want to loosen your top tension. I don't switch my needles either size. I always use an 18, no matter what.
Same here.
And I only switch it when I have problems. So I probably use my needles way too long, but So the monofilament that I actually use comes on this little cone like this. It's not a big cone. And this is, and I know for some folks that this might be controversial. This is actually called, it's Harriet Hargrave. That's who worked with Hobbs to come with that 80-20, the cotton. Harriet Hargrave, and she worked with the company YLI, the letters YLI.
Yep.
So you can get it from YLI because it says YLI, made in the USA. The Whisper Touch monofilament thread, it's a 0.004 millimeter.
Okay.
0.004 millimeter. So I just got this from Harriet. So I keep these little spools, and when I'm using it, I put it on my machine like this on top of a big spool.
Oh, nice. Great idea. Now, what do you like in the bobbin when you use it?
So when I will just use my regular thread that I always use, the 60 weight magnetic bobbin thread, the Magnaglides.
Okay.
And so if I use this, and I am going to use that on that quilt to stitch around things, so I don't have to change colors, and I will just use an ivory that matches the backing.
Perfect. Okay.
I don't match the top, I'll match the backing. But now with that said, I never use this in the bobbin. And the second thing is I want to make clear that this is a nylon thread. It's not a polyester thread.
Right.
Polyester, which I love, my second favorite is the Monopoly, I believe. That's by Superior.
Love that.
And I love it too. It's a little shiny for some of the things I work on.
Sure.
And this nylon is very durable, because the reason polyester typically is your go-to for the monofilament, but nylon tends to, be heat sensitive or not. This actually, I have left the iron on it. I have ironed, I have custom quilted, I have washed and dried, and it holds up.
Ooh, I'll have to try that.
So don't run out and get any old nylon thread.
Right.
Because this one I've tried and trued. I have used for years. I love it because it looks a little bit more matte, and it's very strong. I never have any issues with it.
Okay, cool. I will try that. Okay, another question? Good question. Linda, you don't always double bat, but
I don't always double bat, but it probably looks like I do, because so I double bat on anything that will be published, photographed, show quilt.
Sure.
Definitely. You want to double bat. Anything that's a kind of a special quilt, which tends to be a lot of the quilts that I do, but no, I typically don't always do it. But this, whenever I really want the quilting to show in texture, and texture to a quilt, I will always double bat.
So not often on your edge to edge.
Never on my.
That's what I thought. I don't either. Okay, but on my custom,
on my custom, yes. If it's a custom work, if it's wall hanging, I've triple batted before. I will play with different things on my own small stuff, just to see how it washes and dries and how it hangs and whatnot. So,
any more
I know
questions?
it probably looks like double bat.
Do you do a thread charge?
No. I did. When I started, I did.
I did too. And then I just kind of included it. It's like, whatever. So, yeah. And it looks like that's all the questions we have now. I have to say, my dear know you're loved. Thank you so much. You know how much I
Yeah.
treasure you. And
Thank you for
Scott,
having me.
oh, absolutely. It was an honor for us. And Scott, you were amazing. And thank you for everything that you
Thank
do.
you.
Know you're loved too. And
I don't think the cat found it as amazing.
they never do. They never do. You know, it's funny because you have teenage daughters, and I got to tell you, they're at the, I'm sure they're at that age where they're always away and gone. So I only have teenage dogs. So my Iris is like 2 years old and she's starting to like not be there with me all the time. She used to be with me every night and like she's doing the whole I don't really want to be around you. So it's like she's finding me a little more boring. So all right, my dear, will you go and have an amazing weekend? And Scott,
Okay.
you be safe out
Thank you.
there, and Linda,
Thank
you
you.
be safe.
Yes.
And we'll
You
see
as
you down the
well.
road.
Yes.
All
Thank you.
right. Bye. All right, everybody. So I hope you've enjoyed that. And of course, we have all of the information for Linda that Rich is going to put on links when we do the cleanup version of this particular video. So again, remember next weekend, next Saturday, we are not, no, next weekend, um, we will not be here. Rich will be gone. I will be here, but Rich will not. And so we will have our live the following weekend, and we will actually have the drawing then. So make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you have a chance to win and you get to be notified whenever we have a new video. And also any purchases that you make. And somebody had asked the question, well, I made like 5 purchases from your website. Does that mean I get 5 chances? Yeah, that's what that means. Every time you purchase something, you get put into the hat to be drawn for the free little piece that we're going to be giving away on the hand dyes. So again, I hope you enjoyed this. We will see you in a few weeks. And
So now I'm going to do something he hates when he does to me. So, I'd like to ask if there are any of you out there that might want to do a studio tour and show off your tour. Maybe somewhere down the line, we might have you on and do what we did with Linda today.
yes,
So email me if you want to consider doing something like that.
I love seeing people's studios. That's a great idea. That's a great idea. So wonderful. Okay. We good? All right, everybody. We are signing off. Know your love. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And be safe out there. Bye.